Your guy Anthony Rose, and we are here on the Keep Elevating podcast, live from Elevate Studios in Los Angeles, California. This is a podcast where I sit down with some of my most dynamic friends from across the multiverse, Spideyverse that are just super inspirational, super dope, known within their communities, but maybe not known to a lot of y'all. So I want to bring them here so we can sit down, talk about what keeps them ticking, what keeps them going, what keeps them elevating through the everything, the highs and the lows. So today, I am with my guy. This man has known me for many, many moons. The young ninja genius, the main event, Marcus himself. Has always been an inspiration, a bigger brother that I've never had, never knew I needed, but have always appreciated. The one and only Marcus Lavelle Harden.
What's up, man? Thank you for having me. And your beautiful studio. I've been serious to you. All need to come check out Elevate Studios in Los Angeles. Use it for your bar mitzvahs, your birthdays, your movies, everything.
I appreciate it, man. So so this is a special one because like you flew in on a flight and I was like, yo, let's interview, and you're like, all right, let's do it. So, you know, we could pretend that it's daytime, but it's really like 2 a.m.
Hey, man, listen. But, I just flew in from the East Coast, so it's whatever in the morning for me, but it's cool. We up. We
up. So, and I've been on my done is better than perfect, and just turn the camera on, turn on some lights. Shout out to, you know, my creative partner, Will Hatcher. That's what, bro, like, let's just go. So I didn't want to miss out on the moment of being able to talk to the audience, of you sharing a little bit about your story and all that. So I guess maybe just introduce people to who you are and what you do, and then we'll go from there.
Man, as you said, Marcus Harden, originally from Seattle, Washington, 206, king of the mayor of the South End, Skyway, Seattle, Skyway, Washington. This is 2 a.m. I can't remember where I'm from. Currently reside in both places, so between Seattle and Atlanta. I've been it's like a lifelong educator, lifelong kind of activist, all those things. Father, mentor, son, proud only child. Just really been in the grind, man, for a long time since we known each other from college to the Senate, working in serving in Hillary Clinton's office, to being a co-founder of the Academy of Creating Excellence, along with Willie Seals and CJ Dancer.
Go Mob.
Go Mob. My brothers going 12 years strong. Super proud of the work we do for Black and brown males. Have just recently left my role as the founding senior director of academics and development at Overtime Elite, a one of its kind professional basketball league. So never knew I'd have that on my resume.
Hey.
And currently serving as the interim chief academic officer at Why Not You Academy up there in Seattle, Washington. Russell and Sierra Wilson's funded and founded a project up there, serving some awesome kids and staff in Des Moines. So been able to hop around.
Hey, man, I mean, you guys heard it. It's a hell of a resume. You know,
resume.
Hell of a, as they say in Georgia. Well, I mean, hearing it all, bro, it's crazy. Like, I'm always extremely proud of you. I think the core is, maybe let's dive into, like, I feel like ever since I've known you, you've always had this affinity to give back into other things, right? And I remember being like, I think I was like 17, 18 in the cafeteria at UW, and we were talking about Sigma. And I was like, what made you join? And you were like, I saw some young men that were showing me what it meant to be a man and brotherhood, because you didn't have brothers, you were a single child. But you've always gone above and beyond in an act of service with your commitment, not just like from a generic community perspective, right? But you actually take service to a whole different level. Like, you guys heard him say he's a dad, but what he didn't tell you was that, like, he pretty much adopted like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 young teenage dudes who were out of school that he was teaching at that needed some guidance, didn't have the proper family structure, and he took them in. And you were only in your mid-20s?
Mid-20s, yeah. It was 20,
so,
25, 26.
So where does these, like, everything that you've talked about in every role is an act of service beyond the norm of what a job is. So what leads you to dive into crafting a career in that aspect?
We were talking about this a little off camera, but I think similar to how you opened, done is better than perfect, right? And so I wanted to be the thing that I had seen or I hadn't seen. So I'm a big, I'm a big kid at heart. So I'm a big comic book nerd, man. So I was always fascinated by like the Alfreds and the Professor X's and every superhero is an orphan.
As they talk about in the Spider-Verse, the canon.
The canon. And so I was like, man, what does it look like to actually take that level of service and put my resource and where my mouth is? But with those guys especially, I didn't set out to do it. It just kind of felt like the right thing to do. It was like I had the resource. I was already kind of mentoring them. But the one thing I did want to do was make a commitment. We were talking about this, what this means as men, as partners with in intimate settings, but also as just, I think, black men. And I'm glad that trope is dying down a little, but like, what does it mean to be committed as a father and as a consistent figure in people's lives? And I just wanted to be that. And so the commitment I made to them was like, hey, if y'all gonna be here, I'm gonna see you through.
Yeah.
And I'm super proud now. Like, I don't know what I am now, but like half of them have children, and like, they come over and they bring them, and it's like, this is weird because I remember seeing you, and man, it's been a blessing. I honestly, I said, I talk about it enough, but not a whole bunch, because it's probably my proudest accomplishment.
Yeah.
Of all the cool things I've gotten to do, like. Doing that, man, and helping them see the world, and now seeing them all as successful young men, bro, is as much as we talked about wanting to get our accolades sometimes in other ways and have the world show it. You couldn't pay me for that.
Yeah, and I think I'm sure it's great because it's like you don't often. I remember being at one church one day and. Torrey Roberts said, where you plant the seed isn't necessarily where you reap the harvest, right? And I think with educators or kids, or how I see my brothers, my nieces, it's like he might have instilled something early on and then see the kid actually be like, oh, you actually listened.
Yeah.
So through your, I'll say your 3 iterations, right, of working with kids, from the Young Guns you adopted to Ace Academy, then to OTE, have you seen a through line, right? Because the kids are coming from different socioeconomic backgrounds, but also different things on the near forefront from them, right? So whereas the kids you brought in and the kids at ACE that are, doing extracurriculars and trying to figure it out, the kids at OTE kind of have a path that they're going for. But do you feel like there's a common anchor amongst all of them that you felt like you had to help them develop or get through or work through?
Definitely. I said before the role at OTE, I had my own misconceptions about what that would show up as. I was like, man, these guys is, for the first time in my life, taller than me.
Yeah.
Some of them make more money than me, because we had a whole different design then. But that was shattered quickly. Like, honestly, I would say the consistent through line is that, being a young black male in America is being a young black male in America.
Yeah.
Whether you're making 100,000, whether you're making 0, it doesn't matter. I would say my greatest learning, and I'm still processing this because OT is still fresh. I would say my greatest learning, juxtaposing the two, would be with OTE with athletes or young entertainers. It is helping them shift the paradigm of having more than one identity.
Gotcha.
Whereas with more traditional students, it is the same, but it feels like the world's a little more open to them, right? Like you can have the conversation and be like, well, you can be a doctor, you can be a lawyer, you can be an entrepreneur, you can have your own studio, Elevate Studios, Los Angeles, California.
Hey.
But I would say, and this is not all, but I would say a lot of the mindset for the amazing young men I got to work with was they had been conditioned so long to just be basketball players that they had yet to have the opportunity to explore other things. And I understand why. They were great at that thing. And so sometimes there's like, it's mastery, right? Like, be great at that one thing. But we know how sports works. And we know that you can be washed by 24.
Yep.
And so we actually, for them, some of them, you can be washed by 20.
Yeah.
And we know there's so much more life left. So I would say that's the biggest. I don't know if one's better. Like, they're all still trapped in the paradigm of how I think hopefully we're helping reshift what black maleness is and creating a broader mosaic. And that's what I feel like in all those places my role was, like, it's to show up, and I've changed. I would say that the bigger change is me over those 3 iterations, which is how I've shown up and how I've gotten to grow up with them. And the man at the core they met at OT was the same as the one that my young guys met, but in some ways very, very different.
Yeah. And I was gonna ask, like, speaking of that, like, I'm sure working with kids is frustrating as hell, and it has some like a lot of happy days with some dark days and moments. But as you're doing that and they're elevating, I mean, you're also growing up too. You know what I mean? So was there a pivotal moment or a moment that you could speak to where you're like, man, F this, I'm done, shut it down, I'm running for the hills, and what made you push past that?
I think there were two. One was personal with my guys. I won't go too deep into that story. And the other was professional. The personal one was with them staying with me, and I had a couple automobiles. One was theirs to drive. One was mine. And they knew when I was gone not to drive that one.
Ah, gotcha. Okay.
Yes, that one ended up in somebody's front yard with the axle down the corner. And so I remember coming home to a call that had happened. Okay. And I remember them seeing all of them in my front yard, and I was like, "Yeah, this is it." We used to call it the back cave. Yeah. I was like, "Oh, back cave shut down. Everybody get out! Everybody get out!"
You ain't gotta go home, but you gotta
get out of here. That was the only time I ever came close to like, what am I doing? And we talked about this again a little off camera, just in life, where like faith versus just like, I'm just about to become a librarian and do nothing, right? Yeah. I said that was one. I got over that one quickly, like 48 hours or later. Yeah. We're good. And I would say, I think what helped make the pivot to Atlanta and what led me to OTE was I used to do a lot of work at an alternative school. Did a lot of trauma-informed stuff, a lot of our stuff there. And then I just think, I tell the story all the time, but like in that 4 years, was there for 23 students who died via gun violence or suicide. And I was one of the people who like spearheaded the like, hey, it's gonna be okay. Like, here are the trauma-informed efforts. Here's what we're gonna do. Here's how we're gonna handle this. And like, it got to the point like Monday mornings, I would send out like reports and be like, hey, so and so got shot, so and so, whatever. And I was like, just started to wear me down. It became so normal. I was like, this can't be life. And I think the last kind of what broke me going into it was a young man had gotten shot. And then we were helping the family take care of things, and the little brother was playing with the older brother who had been killed, his gun, and killed himself. So within like 30 days, the mom had to bury both of her sons. And that was the one, like it's happening now. That was the one that was like, yeah, bro, I can't. Yeah. Like I'll never, her voice, her affect, everything, I'll never forget that. And I was just like, yeah, I can't. I was like, I want to start to do work and that's important work, and I support everybody who still does that work. But I was like, I don't know if I can spend the rest of my life sitting in that loss. I instead would rather build, hope to try to build something that like can prevent those things from happening. Hopefully. Yeah. Damn. So those two totally different reasons were moments where I was like, but that second one made me like, okay, what does the world look like where I can hopefully set up circumstances and programs and schools and things that can hopefully help both of those young men. So one doesn't have to be street activated to get killed, and the other one doesn't have to suffer depression of his brother dying and playing with his gun to kill himself, right? Like that was the shift, and that's kind of where that's been about 7 years now. So that's kind of where I've landed now. As I said at another pivot, and we talked about this, like we talked about this a lot. I think that's why we're talking. I think so much of life that we don't get told as black men is how many times we can pivot. I think hopefully I'm on my second to last one, or my last one, but we made some turns.
Because I mean, I think pivoting isn't a sign of failure, right? No. I think pivoting is you have the dream. Like, for instance, like my thing was I'm going to be the best filmmaker ever, make movies. But then as new industries, new tech, digital and all that, then it's like, oh, being in it, you understand the power of ownership. So now it's like, oh, I need to own a studio. I need to put out my own stuff. I need to do this own thing. So even speaking of that pivot, like, talk a little bit about the pivot of early on, you guys building out Ace Academy. And I think overall, maybe from like the entrepreneur side of you, or what are some key things that you learn as you guys are building out this like legacy institution? Because I mean now, it is a national model, if not international, of how you guys are doing things. So maybe talk about ACE, and then talk about maybe a couple things you learned in building that out and how that's, you've developed that.
I think our greatest one, like all great things, we started out, I was like, hey, we should do this thing for Black boys. And shout out to Willie and CJ. I definitely always own my place as the third musketeer who came in. But, I like to think I brought my thing. I think lesson one, to answer your question, was, man, do it with people you love and you respect. I think that the great thing is that we are all committed to the vision, which is empowering young Black and brown males, ages 18 to 30 at this point. But it started off very minute in high school. But I think, one, we committed to our brotherhood and our friendship. And we're going to commit to the mission. And we all believe in this thing. All three of us. All three of us are drastically different.
Way different.
But I think we lean into those differences and it works. I keep on telling them, like, we actually have to break down that dynamic, but that's another podcast. But so I think one is that. I think two is we built slow. I think it was never about us. I think Willie and CJ are probably gonna kill me with this, but like, we were an upside down organization for a long time. We were founders who did not get paid, and when we did start getting paid, it was never about the money. And when it was, we were the lowest paid people on our staff, and we did that for a reason. We all held full-time jobs while running a full-time organization, while paying 7 or 8 people full-time salaries, right? And we were the ones who were not, and we were like, that was the vision. The vision was like, we want people to do great work. We wanted to take care of people from a business end, from a programming end. It could only be mission and value aligned. So you could want to help Black boys, but unless you could tell us really what you wanted to do and your long was, it was like, no, we're good.
It feels like you're exploited.
Right, and we're not for everybody. I think there might have been a small window in the middle where we started like getting a little thin, but outside of that, it was committed to that. And more importantly, I think what we've learned over the years now has been the power of connection, man. Like, so many of our, just a couple of weeks ago, we were guests at the Seahawks game, where the 49ers gave the Seahawks that work.
Man.
Shout out to Brett and Leslie and some wonderful folks at T-Mobile and the Seahawks. But what we saw there, like, for me, was very humbling, because we got to see, like, the second iteration, like, we got to see the little brothers of Ace kids from 10 years ago. And like, for me, shout out to Kasiri and Tommy, like, I mentored Kasiri at ACAP. You know what ACAP is. And his little brother is now an Ace. And it's like, this is this crazy thing that's gone. And we talk about this all the time. We're going into year 12. Most nonprofits don't make it 5. Most marriages don't make it 7.
Listen.
Right? And so I think the secret sauce has been being committed to the mission, scaling back when we needed to scale back, growing when we needed to grow. And I think now we're at this place of, to your point, we're like, what does Nashville look like? What does broader partnership look like? We're really in the space now. What does economic development look like? So it's because one of my first students is one of our employees now, right? And so, like, what does that look like to help them build what's next? And so we're not just talking about this, but we can send the Ace kid down here for a summer internship to intern at Ant Roll Studios. Room and board paid for, stipend paid for. Like, what does that look like? That's what a lot of other organizations that aren't run by 3 Black men look like.
Shoot, let's try to get them to Atlanta. It's a little bit cheaper rent. I plan on splitting my time too.
We'll get them both. We'll get them both.
But I think also, though, it's a testament to, you guys knowing each other on the friendship level, but also I think really just taking the time from what I saw over the years, and I wasn't in the mix a lot, but knowing you guys as my older frat brothers and knowing your different personality types, as Black men, allowing each other to hold space for each other, to have conversation, to play to each other's strengths, to talk about each other's weaknesses, but also to work together, because you could talk to each one of you individually, and I feel like the 3 of you will each give credit to the other 2.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? It'd be like, hey, I'm CJ would be like, hey man, I'm just that guy. Like,
we are not, and I don't know if we've ever, I'm about to spill all the beans, I guess. I'm just at this space in my life. We are not Ace if it's not for Willie and CJ first having the conversation. Shout out to Roxanne for her no crust sandwiches at the old Dancer Mansion in the CD. And not convincing me, but bringing me on. But we are not where we're at now if it wasn't for the courage of Willie quitting his job and being like, you know what, I believe in this so much, I'm going to go do it. Willie's courage led to my courage, which was me quitting my job. And then we finally got CJ, because CJ a little. And now CJ is holding it down as the ED, and and it allowed me to leave. And I'll be honest, I haven't said this out loud. It's my actually first time saying it to you. I think me going to Atlanta and being able to travel the world and see different things, and now coming back in some stead has actually made me appreciate Ace and them so much more, because I'm like, man, what we have is something really special. We were just talking about our gala a couple weeks ago, and it was like, I'm so much more appreciative of it, as the more flighty of the three of us, more adventurous maybe you want to call it. But it's not that without those two, and I always give shout out to Roxanne and even in Scotia, the ladies behind the scenes, and my mom, you know what I'm saying, who but especially Roxanne and Roxanne, who really like supported early. But yeah, it really doesn't make that jump. I think we're here. I just don't know if we're here.
Yeah, I got you. And it takes, I think that's the thing too, is like we are, sometimes it's like leaping out on faith, but sometimes it's that he's also making that jump because I felt like he knew that eventually you guys would jump with him. You know what I'm saying? You guys are already into it. And I think what I've had to learn, even with the studio space, is like I have friends that like support, but when it comes to like being like a solopreneur in a way, like I took a jump, but I had my really good friend from 5th grade, Nicole Wilson, who was like, we were just talking one day and she was like, what you got going on? She was like, let's get you your studio. I was like, what do you mean? She was like, I'm gonna help you get it. Like I'm gonna actually put some resources in it. Same thing, shout out to Jarman Hauser. Jarman 2 years ago hit me, bruh, like, yeah, he was like, you know, I was doing the Gentleman Jack thing in New York, and we was all there. We had like a frat reunion, didn't know it. Everybody was out there. And,
unplanned.
And he called and was like, bruh, like what you did on there, he's like, I need you to do you. So whatever I could do to help you, he's like, I'm gonna send you something. Wrote me a check, and I'm like, what's this for? He's like, I don't want nothing in return. I was like, hey, bro, thank you. You are always a producer.
Hauser, let me know if you need my address. I need a check.
Listen, but he might get mad I said, but whatever. I want to like I appreciate those that take the time to actually pour it. And it's not even about the financials. I think it's just knowing that there's a couple people that believe in you, puts an extra battery in your back. But at the end of the day, it's like Kobe. It's like one on everybody, you know, until you have a team. So speaking of one on everybody, like when it comes to like you and how you handle, like how do you reset? How do you pour into yourself? Because like for instance, like you did a whole journey of like working out and exercise and all that type of stuff. So what are some ways that you're pouring into everybody else, but that you pour into you?
I mean, you said the top one, definitely. I mean, you've seen the journey. You know, when you met me for 150 pounds every year. And so, I mean, that's been a big one, but that one, as I've, good therapy and time. I think that was. I
mean, you were preparing for a WWE Heavyweight Championship belt. You know what I mean?
That was equally mental and physical. I think I had to go to Atlanta to shed that weight because so much of it was, like you said, the expectation of being places or holding on to whatever.
Yeah.
So I said the gym is one. Shout out to Luca. Shout out to Bruce. Shout out to Justin. Always got shout out to Phil Heath. All my guys, man, who pour into me on the physical end.
The world champion.
The world champ, man. I can't have those four in my corner, bro. Like Luca in Seattle. Shout out to Bruce and the Atlanta crew, man. Justin here in Long Beach, and then Phil all over the world and still be fat. That's one. I think it's funny you asked that, bro. I think I'm still that's one. Therapy. I have a great therapist back in Atlanta. So that's two. I think it's still finding that, again, we had a great conversation off camera. I think so much of mine is, at the end of the day, if I've had to like learn myself, said I'm a people pleaser. I'm people first. The line from the end of, I think it's Civil War, when Captain America writes to Tony, he's like, my faith has always been in people, and that's been my greatest strength. It's also been my biggest letdown, right?
Yeah.
And so I think because of that, my learning to like be selfish. You know the running joke about me is, don't call me unless you really need me because I ain't picking up.
Or
right?
if I'm within 2 miles of you.
Now I pick up now. Now when you need me, I'm there.
You're a proximity person.
But yes, I am.
If I'm in the same neighborhood.
But it's not for, I think so much of it is for, I think, and you're the same. I think I give so much out.
Yeah.
That like my cup is usually like empty, and I've been in a place in my 20s and my early 30s where like I gave so much that it just like wore me out. So now I'm very like, like Sunday's just for me, bro. And I'm watching football, and I'm hopefully watching the Dolphins win, and hopefully big fantasy win this week. I got you, Simba. But I think it's those, trying to read a lot more.
Yeah.
Travel, just trying to do the things that center me, The crux of it is, though, I get my greatest energy from being around people. So then it's, then it's just, I'll be like, God, why'd you make me like this? Like, I appreciate the genetic superiority of the 6'6" and the 230 and the forever youthful face. But the other part, man, is we were just talking about this. I was having a lot of time in that 4-hour flight on the plane, just like still figuring it out. I'm still en route.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's the thing even with me is like, I have some days where I'm like, whoo, I finally got to like not talk to nobody. Or there's days where I'm not talking to anybody, but I know me, like I get a lot of inspiration from being around really dope dynamic women, right? It's like, it's just, I grew up the oldest of 5, just my mom. And then it's like, I guess, you find a muse here and there. But I think the hardest part, like you're saying, like those journeys and it's like that reflection of self and even therapy, right? I think for me, like now at the age that I'm at, like I'm looking at things a little bit, I've been looking at things. Yeah, I've been looking at things different the last couple of years, but it's like even with therapy, I still see my therapist as somebody that still needs something from me. You know what I mean? Like, because if I don't go to therapy for a few weeks, it's a text like, "Hey, haven't seen you in a while." I was like, "Oh, you just want another $200, right?" Right? Because I feel like my existence has always been rooted in what I could give to everybody else, right? Like it's rare that people come along and they don't want shit from you, or you don't have that mantle on your back of like, I have to output something for other people in order to have this value, right? And I remember one thing she told me though, and this is why like I still keep her around, or like, I was like, I got to keep going back, because she was just like, oh, okay, like your relationship with your mom was based off of accolades. Because, I think growing up with just our moms, for the most part, they're like, go to school, get a good education, which means that, at least on my side, she was, I knew my mom loved me, but if I got good grades or if I did something good, oh, okay, I'm proud of you. If I was in Mesa program or doing nerdy shit like playing the French horn and Tacoma Youth Symphony, so then you're like, I had to learn that, oh, I was also seeking that from women in other relationships, or I'm seeking that validation in things that I do. But then also being a people person, I went into film and TV because I'm like, where can I get the most people together on one thing and elicit an emotion and something common for people to talk about? Hopefully they're not trashing my films, but they're like, this is something dope. So how do you, I guess all that being said, like how did you get to that point where you knew how to pour in yourself in a way that was where you were okay with being selfish for you, right? You didn't feel like you were, that was okay, I guess, if that makes sense. I know that was a roundabout.
No, it's good. Mine is, our path is similar. I think the why is a little different, because mine is like, I never wanted to be, I wanted the hero's accolades. I didn't want the responsibility.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be the behind the scenes guy. I always say I wanted to be the influencer, but I didn't want to be accountable. And so I think it's why I probably do better in group settings. But and I always said I'm a great number 2. I'm a good number 1. That's shifted now. That's part of the story I've told myself. But I would say so much of it is, I think there was also a part of me, and it's probably where I'm at right now. It was like there was a part of me that like burned when I saw other people getting the thing that I like worked hard for, and I'd be like, and we were just talking about this actually. I think I'm trying to figure out, as a person who is a people person and who holds social capital but wants to do right by people, how to actually have that affirmed in a way that also feels good. Because I think oftentimes you have to be the wind beneath people's wings. And I think where I'm becoming challenged in my big age now is like, I want to get some of that love too, right? Like, and I want to get that same. It's never been about money for me. So if you're just hearing me or whatever, but I want to get that same check. Yeah, I want to get that same recognition, but then I don't. Right? Like, it's just very. I don't. I'm straddling this line of trying to figure out like how you do it for the right reasons. Because I guess for me the big push now is how do the good people win?
Well, it's true, because it's like, for the most part, you see people that get that love because it's either they've hit this level where the people around them giving the love, they know that these people could change their lives, right? Or it's out of fear, right? Some bosses lead out of fear, or da-da-da-da-da, or it's...
And that one I can't stand.
Exactly.
Right? And I'm a big wrestling fan, right? So I love The Rock, right? Yeah. And I love him for the wrestling aspect, but like also like as a 6'6" guy, and a guy who's been treated as just like a physical being for his whole life. I love the way that man shows up and is like kind, bro, but still tough. Like he ain't no sucky. Yeah, you're not gonna press The Rock. You know what I'm saying? But like also it's like, man, I'm butchering this quote, but like it's I think he says it's good to be nice, but it's nice to be good, or something like it's nice to be good, but it's good to be nice, or something like that. But just like showing up in those spaces, but then I think showing up in those spaces as like this complex being as a 6'6", 230-pound like husky man, but it's like who's nice, man, who shows up and takes the time to do Make-A-Wish or rolls down the window and is still. I've always wanted to be like that, man, accessible and be like, you know what, like we talked about this a little. Like I want to have the little influences. Like I say Elevate Studios tonight, and this place is packed tomorrow, and not because you're my friend, but because you do stuff the right way, right? And I think I've gotten to this point now. It's like, how do you push that? And then the self-care for myself is, and we were just talking about this. I keep on saying that. Sorry, guys, we're having a great conversation off camera, but and hopefully we're having a great on. But I was saying, like, I am getting anxious, and I'm being patient because I'm a man of faith, but getting anxious for like, man, what the reward coming for the people who just have done it right, not perfect. Lord knows there's blood on my ledger, right? Like I've made mistakes. I'm beautifully human, all those good things, but all in all, I think, and CJ, I always quote him internally for this. He was like, you know what, the one thing I know about you, big guy, he was like, is people can get frustrated with you, you can mess up. He's like, but people know your intentions are good. And I hope that's the case, because that's always been, even in some more recent situations where I've been tempted to go left, right? Like I want to stand on business and be the man.
How do you do it?
Yeah, standing on business. Sorry for the sign language community if we butchered it, but I want to do that, man, and I want to be affirmed in that way. But I also want to do it and be able to take care of the people I love and do it in a way that is real. In comparison to Steve of all joy, so mazel tov and great luck to all the people who've done it another way. But I think that's the balance, and I think it's holding on to faith and holding on to hope. Faith is tis the season, right? So we're holding on tight right now.
Listen, we're holding on with a prayer. And I mean, and I have to remind myself, like, I feel like I'm holding on by a thread, but it's because I'm at this new level that I was praying for just a couple years ago, right?
Yes,
so it's like these new responsibilities, these new pressures I put on myself, these new things and desires I want in life, like a family and kids and all that thing that just last year I was like, I'm good without it, right? But to speak to The Rock, I saw like a clip, and then we'll wrap up in a second. Like I saw this clip where he was at like an XFL practice, and there was this big dude that's like towering over The Rock, and The Rock was getting ready to walk out, and he turned around and he's like, hey man, I feel like you want to say something. And the dude was like, Rock, man, like you just been my inspiration. I've been following you. And the dude like is, so how you saying, like, to me that's true leadership, where like you could be an imposing figure if you want to be, but you are providing a space where somebody, I mean, this dude had to be like 6'7", 6'8". This is a big brother. The dude started crying, and he felt it. And then Rock was like, hey man, no, I appreciate you saying that. Dapped him up. Was like, no, you got this. And even like I interviewed him and Kevin Hart for the Jumanji red carpet. It was the same thing. I asked this question about brotherhood or whatever, and at first it was like a regular red carpet thing. It was like a hit, like, all right, we gotta go do this. Hey, what's up? And they knew that it was like for LOL Network. But then when I asked the question, he looked and was like, that was a great fucking question. And in my head it was like that moment, like, yeah, got him. Like I know what I'm doing here. But it shook my hand. But then the handshake was a more genuine, like, I fuck with that. And it's that type of thing where I'm like, when you have that factor, and I think that's how I try to make sure that, like, as much as, like, yes, I can't wait for the good people to win. And I feel like you do a lot in pouring in to make sure other people are seen. So I look forward to the continuation of people making sure that they show you that they see you in the work that you're doing. You know what I mean?
I appreciate it.
Because it's one of those things where I think we've seen a lot. So we've seen a lot, and we see a lot of things, and we see a lot of people who, I mean, at this point I need to do a master class on like fucking etiquette, right? It's like if you take care of those that are making you look good, don't you think that's gonna be? But I see so many people walking in spaces, and I think with like our community sometimes we want to emulate what's been done to us as opposed to changing the narrative. But a lot of people get into spaces as like the token couple black people, and then they're like, oh, well, I gotta have this mantle to show that I want to get on stage and pontificate, and that's not.
I want everybody, and this is the part where I think probably we're both beautifully flawed. It's like, I want you to eat more than me, bro. Like, you know, if there's some fries left over, get it for you. And I think about what you're talking about with The Rock. Two scenarios, and actually one just came to mind when you said it. Like one, then I'll go really fast. It's like we had this young man who was visiting. This is years ago when I was at Madrona, so, you know, long time.
Dang.
Young man who was out of school, got suspended. He spent the whole week with me, like he was third grade probably. And he was leaving, and he was riding with my principal, and he was in the car, and like they drove off. So my principal came back, and he was like, he wanted to give you a hug so bad. And I was like, oh, I didn't, you know, I felt weird because I didn't want to, whatever. So fast forward. My last couple of days of OT, one of my good brothers and one of the teachers there, and he was like, man, these are the kids that are going to have a hard time with you leaving. Yeah. Because it was a really tough decision to do that. That's a whole nother podcast. But I was like, nah, bro. Like, you know, I purposely kind of been standoffish, yada, yada, yada. Man, I tell him, man, dude, and now, so that's an 8-year-old. This is an 18-year-old. Yeah. Dude, mean mugs me. Is not talking to me after I announce it. Like literally, we have this cool little nothing. Won't talk to me. Won't do anything. So finally, like, pull him aside. Like, what's up, man? And he hits me. Like, this is fresh. So he's like, man, why are you leaving me? I'm like, man, bro, I'm not leaving you, but I'm standing on business. I'm standing. You know, it's my time, right? And one of my shout out to Maisha. It's her birthday today, actually. My former direct supervisor. And she was just like, you know what? Is it a good time? Is it a bad time? I don't know, but it's your time. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so it's time, right? And so, but what has been built from that is, man, that's my guy now, man. You know, I text him every day. We formed a whole, I think, probably more beautiful relationship, or at least a broader one, than we would have had I even stayed, right? Because I would have had to stay in that context, and now I can serve him in a completely different way. Shout out to Amari, man, and my guy Jakai, my two, all the dudes, but I'm shouting out my two favorite light skins right now. But I think I juxtapose those two to say like the growth and even me. I said how I've grown. That me was like, oh, I'm scared, afraid. Like now it's like, nah, man. Hey, what's up? Like I text his mom like, hey, and, you know, and his mom said something back beautiful. She was like, he speaks highly of you. Like I hope he stay in his life for the rest of his life. Like I love my son. I want him to have positive men around him. I'm like, to me, that is the greatest gift. Yeah. You have a mom who's entrusted me to have a little part. You know what I'm saying? He's a dope young dude, man, already. You know, same with Jakai, like in their lives, and it's like that means a lot to me. You know what I'm saying? It means a lot, and even though again things can always go differently, but I think even making that decision to go was a selflessly selfish one. Because I think I got to the point where I had to take care of me. And so, you know, and man, shout out to the opportunities and the great things that happened there. Whatever, but it was time. It was time, and so. But that always said, like, I think that's how we grow.
Man, I mean, I see the Marcus Harden agency on the horizon. I mean, I think
you better hurry up and break, brother. This is about to be that, or I'm about to run an ice cream truck.
Hilarious, Mr. Ice Cream Man. Dope. No, in closing, I mean, because we talk forever, but it's probably like 3 a.m, and
Yep, you're right.
What is, if you could leave the audience with anything as inspiration to keep elevating, what is it that you want them to hear at this moment in this time?
You know, it's actually a shout out to you, because I think I've told you this, but I feel like I've been on a couple of podcasts and I get to shout out to people who, man, you've been an inspiration of the ability to continue to dream, bro, and continuing to push. Like I think so many people lose that, and I think as black men who got boredom taken away from us, we don't get to dream. Like, and I think about you, and I think about our other frat brother Simba, who, and I'm tying this together. I think for you continually done it, bro. And like while other people have maybe done it another way or broken instances, you've been like, nah, I'm gonna do it. Like I said, I walked in, I was like, bro, I'm so proud of you. Y'all gotta come see Elevate Studios. I'm not gassing you, but I think between you and I always echo what the thing our boy Simba said, and he was just like, he pulled me aside one day and he was like, bro, I appreciate the way you live your life and like take chances and move, and we were just talking about this. Maybe this is therapy. I was just saying like, and I'm at this place in my life where I won't say I'm doubting, because I trust God's plan, but I'm like, all right, God, here we are again with another pivot, right? Like, and was this the right pivot, and is this the thing? But I think continue to being around brothers like you, continue like hearing those words from people like Sim Sima. I would say, man, keep evolving. Like I love artists and I love people who are like constantly changing. Like, you know, Beyonce just had people wrapped in tinfoil for a whole year. She got them to pay $500 to go to a concert, and then she got them paying $20 to go to the movie in the same tinfoil. Like, but she's evolved. That is not saying my name.
Yeah.
Bay, right?
Yeah.
And so Hov, you know, that couple.
Yeah.
Madonna, if you want to go to the other side of the world. But I just
Yeah.
think continue to do that, man. And then for those who aren't, be those supporters, man. That's why I said, you know, that's why CJ and Willie are my guys. CJ in the sense of like, that's my constant. That's my rock.
Yeah.
So I would say get yourself those people, man, and put people on, man. When you see people winning, man, think about that other person who was there with you, who's still trying to get there. And if they're good people, go do it. And elevate and bring 10 people with you, man. I think we got hit by the old adage to bring one. Nah, man, like why does it have to be a ladder? It could be a cargo freight.
Yep.
And we bring them all, man, and build your team. Build a LeBron. I feel like I'm name dropping every celebrity in the world here in LA, but like it's just true. Like if The Rock can do it with his ex-wife, and build an empire off of $7.
Talk about a masterclass in diplomacy. We're not that's the whole.
We got people who can't even do it. What they anyway.
Yeah.
But that's how you elevate.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. Well, man, I appreciate the words. I'm extremely proud of you. Proud to call you a brother. Glad you're here. And if you guys got anything out of this podcast, please like, comment, share.
www.aceacademywa.org. You can donate. You can do all that stuff if you want to give me.
And how else can people find you?
They can find me on the Twitter and on the Instagram. I am Main Event Marcus. I was the People's Ninja, but now we've evolved. So it's main event time. We're getting main event air character energy.
I'm with it. Coming to a step show near you. And www.aceacademywa.org, right?
Yes.
So yeah, shout out to, you know, all of that. I appreciate you taking the time. Like, share, subscribe, shake a hand, tell a friend, kiss a baby. Remember, vision plus passion times action equals purpose. Actually, CJ came up with that formula. I said I need a formula for elevating. Anyways, vision plus passion times action equals purpose. I'm Aunt Rose. This has been Marcus Harden. Keep elevating, and we'll talk to you soon.
Stand on business.
Hey. Dope.
That's dope.